So you're playing a lot of festivals this year too, along with Pitchfork. I think you're going to Europe to play some festivals.
We are supposed to go to Europe, and I think we've got 4 festivals over there and a few other shows, and that's in a couple of weeks. But for the most part, we're kind of laying low and working on a record, and which is we're in the middle of it. But yeah, this is one of the handful of things we're doing this year.
Yeah, your records are always so emotional. It's like I'm sure a lot of emotion goes into making a new record. Is the new record going to be along those same lines? Like,
I've been trying not to write too much about relationships and the things that it's very difficult to avoid that, and the emotional part of it, it's like they're not really sort of autobiographical things, but they are things that I do sort of get obsessed with and get into, and it's like if a song doesn't feel sincere and truthful, it's like it never sticks with me that long, and so that emotion and that sort of being earnest is often, a lot of people avoid being too earnest because you can look like a fool, and I find myself wanting to go there anyway, and risk that. I'd rather look like kind of a sap and have some things potentially be too sappy than to have it be just cool and aloof and distant, and so yeah. Anyways, the new record has a lot of that stuff in it again, and
yeah. Well, when you go out on the road while you're working on a record, do you want to play all those new songs? Or are those songs just always in the back of your mind? Those are the songs that you're spending a lot of time with, and then to go out and play some of the older stuff, is there somewhat of a conflict?
With me, the truth is I don't want to do songs that are unfinished, and that we're playing 3 new songs tonight that aren't finished. The lyrics keep changing, and I'm one of these writers that just like does stuff and then sits with it and goes back and constantly tinkering and editing, and maybe too much, but it's just I can't help it, and so I'm sometimes reluctant to play new songs, because then there's a couple of the songs, there's an online poll of like which lyrics people, which version of the song and which lyrics people like the most, and they weren't even the correct lyrics, but there's somebody actually made a digital poll that you click on, and now the guys in the band have been sending that to me, of like using that as sort of ways to get me to like stick with these or do this, and that's why I kind of like for so long I kind of it takes me a long time to get something working right that I like with the words, the right kind of words together, and so I'm reluctant to play new songs. The other guys love it, and they force me to do it.
This is probably exactly what they want to do.
Yeah, and I'm sure they're right, and it's a good idea to do it, but.
I have a question. Being in a band like the National, where you're in the band with 2 sets of brothers, the old rock story that brothers in a band, it's a sort of a toxic thing, and you're in a band with 2 sets of brothers. How does that work out for you, not being in either family?
I've been like best friends with Scott for 17 years, maybe, probably more than that, 19 years, and so I've never sort of felt like I was, kind of on the outside of anything, and it's and I've got a brother who I'm very close with. He's not in the band, but he comes on tour with us, and he's kind of helping and he's a filmmaker and stuff. So I've never felt excluded or felt weird about it, and it's frankly it's a really healthy thing for our band. Those guys know how to be around each other, even though they do argue and fight, but it's the fact that they have those roots, make our band, I think, pretty healthy. I guess, I don't know. I don't know that.
Well, you've all been together for a long time, moving from Cincinnati to New York, and then doing what you've been doing for the past few years. The relationship, I'm sure, is very tight all the way around with everyone.
I mean, there are cracks that happen all the time,
sure.
but they fill in. So.
Yeah. Well, you guys are doing a lot of cool things. Recently, the Dark Was the Night compilation that the Desners put together, and then you played a big show at Radio City Music Hall for that. Who were the artists who you played with that night, and how was that experience?
The one that was part of the Dark Was the Night thing. Yeah, that was. I can't remember 7 or 8 of the artists that are on that CD. It was Bon Iver, Justin Vernon from Bon Iver, Leslie Feist, David Byrne, Dirty Projectors, Sharon Jones and Dap Kings, and anyways, it was a blast. The New York Times called me the only pedestrian singer of the evening, because I mean when you have Cher Warden up there singing and and Justin Vernon, I mean.
But at least they called you Mr. Berninger, I'm sure.
So that was a great time for everyone except I kind of got the New York Times doesn't say a whole lot about me ever, and one time they did. They called me pedestrian and robotic, but and that's part of my thing. I beg to differ,
and I'm writing a letter to the New York Times myself.
Pedestrian and robotic is kind of my jam.
If you ever put out a solo record, that's what you should call it.
Yeah.
Well, have a great show tonight.
Thank
We're really
you.
looking forward to your performance. It's certainly one of the most anticipated of this festival, and it's always great to see you, and thanks a lot for stopping by.
Thanks a lot.